I think archaeology suffers from one real flaw that ends up like undermining so many other things. It's so similar to history, but historians are smart enough to not claim to be scientists. They know what they're doing isn't science. They don't, and archaeologists don't do that. They're like, oh no, we're following empirical scientific methodology. It's like, dude, so does the guy that fucking hacks his way to speedrun Super Mario Brothers on the original Nintendo. It doesn't make him a fucking scientist, man.
I'm only going to say this. I'm only going to call him Professor once because he's not a real professor. So Professor Dave explains, just because he dropped a video last night that quite literally made me laugh and made me sad at the same time because he seems like such a miserable guy. Can you believe he used to teach children? All right, Dan Richards making his second appearance into the multiverse. We got a mini Cosmic Summit reunion here because my co-host and producer Megan was at the Cosmic Summit, and that's where I met Dan. How's it going, Dan? Welcome back into the multiverse.
Doing great. Thank you so much. I'm really having a good time, man. It's been a little bit, and I'm glad to get back together and chat some more.
Thank you again for joining the show. Always appreciate talking to you. I guess we'll lead with, I'm only going to say this, I'm only going to call him Professor once because he's not a real professor. So Professor Dave explains, just because he dropped a video last night that quite literally made me laugh and made me sad at the same time because he seems like such a miserable guy. Can you believe he used to teach children? That's shocking.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised at all. But yeah, that's like, he's a horrible human. That's what's. I'm not surprised that it's a used to be. Okay?
Yeah, and he's I guess first of all, he calls himself professor, and he doesn't even have a master's degree. I have a master's degree. I don't call this Professor Dave's multiverse, and so I just wanted to throw that out there. That like, he's always calling people grifters, including you, and he's the one grifting. He's literally claiming that he's something he's not, and it just blows my mind.
Well, the grift even goes further than that because he claims to be the informative, pro-science, empirical, here's the data, here's the information one. And the stuff that he says is so just off the fucking rails wrong. Just to get this out of the way, since some of the people are just going to come in and watch for like 30 seconds and leave in a shitty comment. The first video that he made about me, he claimed that I went after Flint Dibble when I first made my channel, and then when Flint Dibble decided that or when I got tired of going after Flint Dibble because it wasn't getting views, I switched to Milo Rossi. And it's like the very first video I made addressed Milo Rossi and Stefan Milo. It's like Milo Rossi was like the first dude that I really communicated with that was another creator when I started doing this. Like I reached out to him and let him know I made a response, and he actually replied. Like it would have taken him literally clicking on my homepage and clicking on videos oldest to have seen that that's the case. It was me and Flint Dibble were friends for well over a year. We communicated very cordially. Flint's deleted all the comments on Twitter to show that. But if you look at, like, I made a video talking about a live stream that they had discussing the Sphinx, and I was very polite, even though I was joking and picking at him some. I was extremely cordial and stuff. I wasn't trying to be a dick. The racism thing was really what got everything going between me and Flint and a bunch of the archaeologists. It's like they just wouldn't drop that. And even when I showed them that what they presented to Netflix was bullshit, it was inaccurate, they just didn't care. Flint himself said that it didn't matter because it was close enough. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, we'll just fucking do that with archaeology in general. Then if we can just do that with calling people horrific things, I suppose we can definitely do that with bones in the ground, right? I mean, fuck.
Well, it bugs me because they always go back to I never directly called him racist, and it's like you definitely implied it on multiple occasions, and like the Society for American Archaeology did. Let's see what else. Patrick Nunn, University of Sunshine Coast, he's an archaeologist. He did. Carl Fagan's and. They're all implying he's racist by saying that the conclusions he draws are based on white supremacy. And it's like, That's just like, you're calling him racist. Stop that.
There's such a clear like psychological reason for that. It's so much that whole you remember those when they had those Christian pastors that were all like preaching about against homophobia, and then they were catching one after the other, like soliciting.
Yep.
Okay, this is the exact same thing. You know, if you look at the mound builder myth, for example, which was the myth that the Native Americans didn't build those mounds. These were all built by some other culture that came over. This was stamped by the fucking Smithsonian Institute in like 1860 something. This was a mainstream fucking, this was part of the whole, or 1840 something, excuse me, 1838. I'm almost sure now. But it was part of the, like the end of the fucking whole manifest destiny thing. This was why they started looting things wholesale. They like the Navajo and shit started. They actually started making those Kachina dolls because there were so many anthropologists coming and buying them that they just started making them to sell. Like a fucking here you go. And if you look at a modern Kachina doll, they're still, you go find one at a thrift shop or at a gift store, excuse me, they're like $300, and a little thing like this. And then you look at an ancient one. Ancient ones made out of corn cobs and shit. This thing's all fucking looks like a goddamn Warhammer miniature, right? It's like way different. And the archaeology, they're still okay. NAGPRA, the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, was passed in 1990, and according to it, there is no Native American remains or grave goods that should be in university hands. Remains in particular. There are still the vast majority of universities in this country that ever had Native remains are still in violation of that, including Kansas University, where John Hoops, which is Graham Hancock's biggest critic, teaches at. It's Dartmouth University, which is where Flint Dibble taught at through Zoom chat or whatever during COVID. They actually got in trouble for teachers using Native remains as teachers' aides in class. So pretend that this is a finger bone, and they're like, so anyway, after fucking NAGPRA. So like they're not even supposed to hold the goddamn thing. They're supposed to and every year they have protests at these places. And so these guys, my favorite story on this real quick is there's a woman, I forget her name, but it was like 1940 something. She went to the Smithsonian Institute. She's a Native American woman, and she saw her grandfather's grave goods that she witnessed him be buried with like some odd years before, like when she was a child. It was like they dug him up and put his shit on a fucking museum wall, like while his family was still walking the earth. So, so when they're all like, "Oh, you guys were racist because of this guy in 1888 that wrote this book, this Ignatius Donnell guy," it's like, dude, what were you guys up to in 1888?
Right.
Oh, well, we're not going to talk about that because we got better. You want to see? We wrote this letter that said, "We're sorry that we're on stolen indigenous land." Have you ever wrote a letter like that? Okay, so you just post the fucking little BP meme. "I'm sorry" from South Park, because that's all it is. It's bullshit, man. This is lip service. So yeah, anyway, sorry to ramble, but that's exactly why they've got such a hard on for the racism thing, because if you just fight against it bad enough, you can be wearing a swastika and call it yourself an anti-racist.
Yeah, and also, we come to find out that, these mound builder culture was extremely sophisticated and not from Europe, which that original premise was rooted in white supremacy, was it not?
Yeah, and then you see like you get you're aware of the Solutrean hypothesis?
I've heard it before. Remind me.
The Solutreans were a people on Western Europe that were a little bit before and kind of contemporary with the Clovis here in the Americas.
Right.
And the type of flint knapping that they used, like most flint knapping, they call it bilateral, where it's like there's a straight line down the middle and they flake it both directions to get the two blades. But a Clovis point, and they also did this over with the Solutreans in Europe. They all the way across the stone, so they're capable, if they're good at it. It's very risky because you can easily break the piece you're working on, but if you're good at it, you can make very flat, very wide blades by comparison. And so there is a couple of blades that were found over, I believe it was in Pennsylvania, that were very Solutrean looking, and there was some archaeologists that actually made a hypothesis that's that the Solutreans were some of the first Americans, and that they brought over. This was the Clovis technology thing, and that's been accused of being racist. And you know, the smart archaeologists, you'll see two schools of thought because it's an archaeologist. It's not Graham Hancock, so they get the actual like the time of day. And the smart archaeologists say that of course some people online are going to take it and run with it and do whatever because dumb Indians. There's always going to be white supremacists. There's always going to be every race is going to have their supremacists forever. But he says that clearly the guys that posit it aren't racist, and that's one. You get that from the archaeologists when it's one of their own, but when it's one of us, it's like it doesn't matter. You're guilt by association. If you could make a phone call to anybody else who could make a phone call to anybody else who's a racist, you need to be put in a camp and re-educated.
Guilt by association, right?
And then some.
And that's what they do, and then they pretend that they're not, which bugs me. And I just wanted to, just because some of this stuff is funny, and I know you'll have a laugh at it, and there's just more people that called him racist, by the way. Stuart Brooks, the Hopi Tribe Historical Preservation, Vivian A. Laughlin, ancient Near Eastern archaeologist. All these people are harmful, rooted in white supremacist ideology, promoted dangerous racist thinking, blah, 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 blah. But this Professor Dave guy, he's like the amount, and I said this before we went live, but I swear he's using ChatGPT to come up with these insults. And I just wanted to does this stuff crack you up? Like, I think he called you a unkempt Muppet or something like that.
Yeah, he called me a few good things. It was pretty funny. Like it does make me laugh, and like like I said,
taint. That was one. Sasquatch.
Yes, Sasquatch taint. But like I said before we got started too, it's I don't bear him too much ill will. I feel like I kind of want to thank him because he took time out of. He's only got like 15 minutes between meals because this guy's on this Nikado avocado arc. He's just getting fatter and fatter and fatter. And so like he's got these 15 minutes between meals, and he watched my video in one of those 15 minutes that he ate, and then he spent the next 15 minutes responding to it. Well, presumably he might have ate twice. At any rate, he took time out of that to respond. And so yeah, I want to thank him for that. It's tough. But yeah, dude, his insults are they're not even well thought out. They're just like you say, ChatGPT levels of just, oh, Dan has a hairy face. Oh, fuck. No. God damn it, man. Well, it's going to be easier for me to trim this beard than it's going to be easy for you to shed a bunch of weight, Tubby. But the fact of the matter is, this is laziness, not gluttony. But yeah, and we could sit here and do this kind of bullshit all day. He's basically a worthless bad faith actor in the whole mix, and it would honestly be funny as fuck to me. It is funny as fuck to me in most ways, but the only thing about it that is frustrating is that it is honestly it is damaging in the regards that it's just throwing gas on a fire. Right. It's like it's I compare it to somebody writing an article that's like a political pundit, and they deliberately make it inflammatory. So right. It's like if I get right-wing clicks and I write right-wing shit, well, that's awesome. But if I also get left-wing clicks because I piss them off, I get paid twice as much. And yeah, I rip the country in half, but guess who eats steak tonight? So
yeah. It's common. It happens, like I said, like you mentioned, in politics all the time. That's sort of the MO nowadays. And so it's just silly to me. He's very like miserable. Like he comes off as a really angry, miserable like person. I don't know that that's true in real life. I don't know him in real life, but like just the way he presents himself with like the sophomoric juvenile insults, and he's, it seems like he's really taking joy and he's really enjoying himself.
Yeah, it's fun. Dude, go comment on one of his videos and watch how long it takes him to respond. It's like, go say something. You just go say, hey, good job, Professor Dave. I really love your content. He ain't gonna say jack fucking shit to you. You go on there and you say, man, this is the stupidest video I ever saw. You got like 45 seconds. You won't even get off the toilet. He's going to be screaming at you with paragraphs. It's like he's sitting there at the ready, and he's like clearly using some sort of voice to speech thing, or either that or he types 200 words a minute. So he's just like sitting there playing fucking World of Warcraft or whatever. And he's like, oh, somebody else, bling, fucking retard, bling. Okay, it's like that. He's not very articulate. It's all like his comments are all the same. They're always they'll always end with that same kind of he can't just say I disagree with you and I think that your position is just stupid or something. He can't even go that low with it. It's like his insults are like you said, they're juvenile, and they're ubiquitous. You'll always find them.
Yeah, you will. And I think he does it like it's as far as I'm concerned, he's grifting off of you by making these videos, you know. But I don't want to give him any more attention. I just literally saw that last night, and I was like, oh, good timing. And to be honest, I can only watch it for about 7 minutes because I
didn't finish it. Yeah.
Well, because it's just ugly, and it kind of makes me feel a little bad for him. But
yeah, I ordered him a 48 C cup bra as a gift, and it's been sent to him already.
There you go.
It's not for his wife.
Hopefully it fits. Hopefully it fits.
He can have it let out in the back.
So, on to more important things. You participated in the Atlantis discussion at Quest for Ancient Civ as well. You did the one at Cosmic as well, right?
I did.
Correct. And then you recently talked to our friend of the show, Michael Donnell, episode dropping soon, who's all in on Cádiz. And I just wanted to know, like, kind of where you're at this point with since Quest and talking to Michael Donnell and stuff. Like, where are we at with Atlantis right now, Dan?
Well, I think honestly, like I think that it's pretty clear that the world was in a lot more contact back in those days than people want to give it credit for. Like, if you do a lot of research, it's not complicated, and you see that pretty quick. Like Megan was saying before we started. Yeah, but like Megan was saying before we started, Atlantis is everywhere kind of thing. But it stands to reason that if Atlantis was in a place and it sunk under the water, like one of those cities that were more advanced or part of that old culture, it does stand to reason that you would have some memories of things passed along. Mm-hmm. And some of the things that Michael found off the coast of Spain was pretty interesting. Like I don't know if you got a chance to watch. Got a chance to watch the Atlantica.
Megan and I watched at Cosmic Summit, but the actual series is not out yet, right?
No, the series isn't out yet. The one at Cosmic Summit was like it was about half of the first season. It was kind of like the abridged version. Mm-hmm. Michael was cool enough to give me the he's got it on Vimeo behind a password and stuff.
He sent it to us too. I just haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I haven't got to finish the whole thing yet, but I got through 2 of the episodes and was watching other stuff. I've got that single parent life. I'm a little bit busy, but
right. But the Cádiz thing is interesting. They definitely found some stuff. So there's one new thing that we can add to the puzzle. And I mentioned this before we went live, but Randall Carlson dropped a new video about 7,000-year-old ruins found under the sea near France. So that's something we can look into as well. But yeah, I agree with you because it seems to me marine archaeology is going to be sort of the future of figuring this stuff out. And I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about sort of marine archaeology as a tool for, discovering Atlantis? Because I don't necessarily I don't believe that Atlantis was one place, and I don't even think it was actually called Atlantis or anything like that. Yeah. But we clearly had a civilization that was connected cross space and time, way further back than we give them credit. But marine archaeology seems like where it's at right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously that if you're looking for a sunken city, looking underwater would be the first place to start. But
sure,
it's also the technology it's a lot easier now. You don't have to send down a drone full of billionaires, you can send down just a drone, right? You just send down an underwater camera. Hell, I remember seeing one at a pawn shop about 10 years ago. It was like $1,000, and this thing looked like a fucking torpedo, man. It was, this long, and it had a big. And it's again like 10 years ago. It was high end for the time, clearly, but it was, it was a good underwater camera, and so, we're at a spot where the technology has gotten a whole lot more accessible, and a lot harder for the things that are hidden to stay hidden. The only problem is that there's so much white noise because there's so many people that want to be, especially now with the AI content. It's like, holy fucking
Oh my
shit.
gosh, yeah.
I was looking up stuff the other night, and it was like every third video and half of the shorts were just trash, just not even a little bit garbage, just trash. It's like, man, YouTube, you guys are gonna have to, you guys hire those people from India to call every now and again and be like, hey man, do you want somebody to help manage your channel? You should have those motherfuckers watch some videos while they're at it. Flag stuff, because goddamn, we need some eyes on this.
What if history isn't linear? What if civilizations rise and fall again and again? Discover the shocking truth in Deja Vu, Has Everything Already Been? By my friend Alexander Cheshkovich. Grab your copy now on Amazon. The link is in the description below. And subscribe to Dave's Multiverse on YouTube, Spotify, and Rumble today so you don't miss a thing.
Yeah, I get those emails and messages from those dudes all the time. Let me help you fix your channel. Yeah.
Yeah, much like, yeah, okay. She's like, yeah, I'm just here calling blah 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 about your YouTube channel. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about you. Have a good day. I'll check my email. You guys you just send it there. Is your email address? Yeah, it's the same one on file. Yeah, have a nice day.
Are you familiar with the stuff that's going on with the Michigan copper connection and whatnot?
Yeah, well, how do you mean with the Michigan? They're talking about the idea that it was part of the old world. Was the Minnetonans that came over and grabbed it? Was that the idea?
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, and Ricardo Calvario wrote a paper about it, and I know that Jeff up north. Shout out to his channel. They're looking into this stuff. But yeah, supposedly that the copper could only come from Michigan, and they found artifacts in Europe that are made of that copper. So that's just another example of potential, cross-Atlantic connection. And so we keep coming up with this stuff. And so I love what you do, because, there's this whole cult of where they call pseudo archaeology and whatnot. And you made a good point, because archaeology is sort of we need our archaeology and good archaeologists to help figure some of this stuff out. But then we also need free thinkers who are able to, think outside the box. And some archaeologists do. I mean, I talked to this dude, Michael Arbuthnot. He's an archaeologist, and he's very open-minded about some of this stuff. He's not like, he doesn't say yes or no. He just says, yeah, maybe, we just don't have the information. And that's really, I think, how we should be looking at it now. With with the other side of the coin, it's the actual pseudo archaeology that's out there, with the AI slop that gets put out there and the nonsense, especially on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook Reels and stuff like that. It's like, it feels like there's no way to like marry the free thinking and archaeology. Do you see like a way to fix archaeology at the same time keeping out the crazy nonsense?
I think the very first thing archaeology needs to do in order to make it more accessible and therefore less, the more ivory tower it comes across, the more it's going to be open to these kinds of attacks from below, right? It's right. It's just, okay, I don't have to explain that dynamic then. All right. So I think archaeology suffers from one real flaw that ends up like undermining so many other things. It's so similar to history, but historians are smart enough to not claim to be scientists. They know what they're doing isn't science. They don't, and archaeologists don't do that. They're like, oh no, we're following empirical scientific methodology. It's like, dude, So does the guy that fucking hacks his way to speedrun Super Mario Brothers on the original Nintendo. He's following a fucking scientific methodology. It doesn't make him a fucking scientist, man. It doesn't make speedrunning a science. It's a fucking dude. This is a fucking hobby. All right, you guys are a bunch of fucking collectors that decided you really need to archive this shit good. Years later, you're stealing shit from the Indians after stealing it from the Egyptians and the other Indians. And now you're trying to tell everybody that this was a scientific endeavor the entire time. It's like, no, dude. I've actually got a friend of mine that's got property that's got a little spot on it that we're going to be looking at because it looks like there was a structure there probably 150 years ago or so. It's on his land. He doesn't want archaeologists to go there. So we're going to film it and put it on my channel. We're going to do all the stuff normal archaeologists do. And then after that part's done, we'll be like, all right, that's the hobby part done. Let's do the science part. Let's send this to the chemists. Let's send this to the geologists. All the guys that do real science.
I think what you're describing is archaeometry, which is what I'm really excited about. It's essentially archaeology, but with like scientific data involved. So you're doing the archaeology work, but you're getting actual scientific dating with this new technology that's emerging, making it even more possible to do that. That's what I want to. I want to be an archaeometrist.
Archaeometry. That sounds like a bird. That sounds like an ancient bird.
Like none of this guessing. Like let's get actual data to inform what we're telling the world.
So that's what they think they claim to be doing, because I mean, like by definition, archaeology, they say, is the study of the past based on material remains, right? So that's why they say that they're different from historians, because they're basing on material remains. But there's so many things that, first of all, it's so subject to interpretation. It's the only science field that keeps getting overturned drastically over and over and over again every few minutes on a fundamental level, and it's because they're trying to make it look like a science. So instead of saying we think it might have ended up this way, ain't no fucking way to know, which is the only thing you could say. I always compare it, looking for stuff in archaeology, looking for lost civilization or whatever, to looking for keys. If I lose my keys in your house, you can't just say, well, they're over here because you were over there last. It's like that's a good place to start. Don't fucking tell me they're there, you cocksucker. We don't know where they're at. So don't lie to me about it. But in order to look like a science, you have to have these hard conclusions. And especially more and more in the day and age of social media, since humans look for authorities, they look for one size fits all rules. They look for, give them an inch, they'll take a mile kind of cliches that they don't have to think. You just can fall into this rut and it should take me through life perfectly. Follow this God and you'll do great. Follow King and Country, you'll do just great. And so when we see the whole science stepping to the forefront and this drastic reduction in religious thinking and so many more people, it's one of the drawbacks is that a lot of the people that aren't really empirical thinkers to begin with, they do the same thing. They don't have a priest anymore, they have a scientist. And if you are that scientist, you kind of dude, it goes all the fucking way. Look at what they do to look at what happens to a priest if he ends up crossing the line with some kids. Shuffle him there, shuffle him here, shuffle him there, shuffle him here. What happens to a scientist if he does a bad job at this university or does a shit job at that university? They shuffle him here, shuffle him there. What happens if a scientist like Flint Dibble, for example, gets called out for bullshitting a bunch of people, but he's already been touted as being cool by the mainstream? Now they hegemonically protect him regardless of his fucking crimes. It's like this. Psychologically, these fucking, you get to the wings, it's always the same, man. Horseshoe theory. It's when you get to the extremes, you're looking at the same stupid human shit, just different brand. Swastika on one hand, Hamlin sticker on the other, whatever. It's the same shit.
Same.
Who could possibly think Flint Dibble is cool?
Not even his parents.
That's beyond
Certainly
me.
not his tailor. Jesus Christ, that guy hates him.
Same stupid human shit. I like that, because we have to be aware that we're humans and we're stupid sometimes, and that's okay. And I see archaeology, as a soft science that uses hard science scientific tools to draw certain conclusions, right? But when you go, the further you go back in time, the more you got to fill in the blanks, right? And the thing about that is with archaeology and anthropology, they need to do a better job of differentiating between like, here's our hard science data and what we can draw from that, and then here's all the shit we made up in regards to that. You know what I mean? But they don't.
Yeah. No, that's so true. Like, I'll give you an example of that. A little spoiler from my video that's coming soon. I'm talking about the people in the Americas, and you get that Solutrean hypothesis that I was discussing. You guys know what convergent evolution is?
No.
Okay, in biology, convergent evolution is why a shark looks like a dolphin, looks like an ichthyosaur, which is an old prehistoric fish. It's because this design is what works best. So if you are going to do this job, you're going to end up looking like this. And it's so convergent evolution, that thinking will often be applied to like tool making. It's like these two people both made nails because it's the way to solve this problem.
Right.
So when it comes to the Solutrean hypothesis, where, again, I was talking about the same kind of flint napping, those long flat blades, wide flat blades, excuse me. One of the other things that is really important, the connector, is the Clovis people and the Solutreans both, they use these little, they take two pieces of bone and tie them together with sinew, and they would use that to haft to the spear tip and the spear shaft and the spear tip. And the reason they do that is because there's a lot of effort that goes into making a straight spear shaft. You're going to fuck the tip up when you kill something. You want that breakaway point at the tip so it doesn't bust the shaft. It busts that little. Both of these people used both of like that same style of flint napping and these things of a breakaway. It's pretty weird that they would both show up there, but that's attributed because the Clovis point looks so similar to the Siberian and Beringian tools are just napped differently. It's just attributed to like convergent evolution. And to me, it's so much more simple to attribute this anomalous, like the odds are statistically pretty high, are pretty impossible of both of these peoples coming up with these same toolkits, but the odds of one dude washing up on the shore that knew how to flint nap in that direction, or one boat to show up there, or one for 20 years or 200 years they sent an expedition every 10 years over there. And I mean, if you have a Swedish woman from 1,000 years ago and a Chinese woman from 1,000 years ago, and the Chinese woman's always worked with silk and the Swedish woman's always worked with yarn, when the Swedish woman learns to work with silk, she doesn't start making Chinese gowns. Right, she makes Swedish gowns with fucking silk. So I think that's exactly what we're looking at there, is that they've learned this new flint napping technique. They learned this new the little breakaway points on the spears from the Solutrean people. Ordinations are a little older European culture. I'm getting too nerdy with this shit. I can't remember all these guys.
You can nerd out all you want. And so when I think about that convergent evolution as applied to like technological advancement, do they apply that to, polygonal cyclopean stonework as well? Like, oh yeah. They just came back up with this really extremely difficult way to do shit on every single continent or whatever. Like,
those metal stone clamps. I don't know if you saw. I posted about them. Yesterday. Okay, that's that same thing. These were just this is how you fix that problem.
But it's not. That's so crazy. Because it could be, but like when they're talking about the polygonal stonework, it's like you would have that is so difficult to do that there's just no way, in my opinion, that humans come up with simpler ways to do that. That's why our houses suck now. You know what I mean? Because we manufacture them as easily as we possibly can, right? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, they also invoke survivorship bias a lot. I'm sure you guys know what that is, where they first founded when there was like B-17s, I think, that were coming back in World War II. And they were like, these are the areas that are being shot the most from the planes that come back. So we need to armor these areas. And some guy came back and was like, whoa, hang on a second. That's the areas that are being shot back on the most, on the ones that make it home. What about the ones that don't make it home? Where are they being shot? And so you end up with different data, so that they invoke that and say, well, the ones that survived were the ones that were the biggest, and that's fair, that's true, but you still have to explain why these things show up. Like, there's so many of these things where you end up like the the argument of there being no cross-cultural contact between these continents, it just gets absurd the more you look at things. It's like you don't have to accept the idea of there being people going back and forth all the time, but I mean, like, if you look at Easter Island, for example, like the lowest habitable layer that they've got on Easter Island, the lowest habitat layer, which is the earliest that they've found the signs of human habitation, is about 1,000 years old. It's got both South American and Asian crops found at that level. Okay, the Easter Island people have both South American and Polynesian DNA. The story of the peopling of Easter Island, the story is the King Hoko Matu or whatever had boys out there looking for the place. They found it, came back and told him. Then they spent some time preparing. So they went and gathered a bunch of shit and brought a bunch of people and showed up there because they were looking for it. It was, and then we see that when they were gathering the shit, they went and got sweet potatoes and ginger. And so it's clear that they were in contact 1,000 years before. 1,000 years ago, so 500 years before history says that there was supposed to be much contact. So and then you got things like the candelabra of the Andes, right? Like you guys have seen that.
No.
You'll remember it. Those Nazca lines.
Yep.
Okay, the one that looks like a big candelabra that's like the big fiery.
Yeah.
That thing is visible for, like, I forget the exact measurement, like way the fuck out at sea. Way out at sea, you can see that. And if you know, the Kelp Highway hypothesis is basically that the peopling of the Americas may have not just been through Beringia, but also that they kind of just hopped along the coast all the way down, all the way Alaska and all the way down.
Which makes sense. That's what the Europeans did.
That's exactly what they did. And if this was done regularly, something that's visible way the fuck out to sea is a pretty good, emulation of a lighthouse. It's not perfect. It's not going to show you where the rocks are, but it will tell you this is that spot. If you're wanting to put ashore here to go get rice or beans or whatever, here's your place.
And why else would you do that? Like, on the right. So go through all that effort.
Please need to signal to aliens, guys.
Those are the ones that are inland. This is for those weird Asians that come on over and bring their opium, trade it for their cocaine.
Yeah.
So we have stuff like that. We have similar architecture across continents and cultures. We have similar mythology and similar cave drawings, things like that. Is there like one that stands out to you as the most like obvious like evidence of previous Atlantic crossing?
Well, I mean, there's a few of them that seem like Orion is one that hunter you see show up a lot. The Master of Beasts symbol you see show up quite a bit. You see, honestly, I think it's one that gets overlooked a lot, but I honestly think the bow and arrow is something that I don't think it was invented in multiple places. I mean, if you look around the world, you get atlatls and boomerangs and slings and the bow and arrow.
And spears,
well, a spear. And if you look at what goes into a bow and arrow by comparison to it like an atlatl is just a spear thrower. You don't have to design your darts to be any different except for to fit the spear chucking thing that you've got, right? Now, a boomerang is much different. It's a weapon that you're supposed to throw and hit something with and really give it a club when you do. But a bow and arrow, like it has to be weighted different because it's launched different, right? And so you end up with, in my mind, this isn't something that was invented over the course of just a few weeks or even a few years. I think that this is something that, in order to get figured out, took some work. And I think it's the kind of thing that spread around the world as it was introduced, a lot like metallurgy and stuff. A lot of these things, I don't think were like, there's some things that are going to be independently discovered, but a lot of these things, I don't think so.
Yeah.
An interesting one here too, to me, that's really weird one, but linguistics. Like Asian languages and English are supposed to be completely detached from each other, right? They're supposed to have nothing to do with each other, but it's and this could be completely coincidental, but the Korean word for mother is amoni, and the Korean word for father is apoji, the difference being ma and pa, which is kind of weird. You know, I mean, these kinds of things don't. It's not crazy to think that these kind. Again, we live on one planet. You know, the odds of one person washing up on another shore and stuff. Fucking rats do it. All right. If you're gonna say that rats and Neanderthals could figure it out and then humans can't, I'm definitely gonna say I'm not the racist one here. Because those weren't modern Europeans back in those days, were there? Those were brown people. So I know what you're saying, sir.
Yeah. And you're right. The more you dig into it, the more kind of obvious it becomes that, you know, this was. And then that, what's funny to me is that they call it, that in turn becomes racist if from their rules, right? Because the idea that humans share, that's how we share information to each other. You know, it spreads cross-culturally through communication, right? It's not like humans are just like, you know, coming up with the same idea all over the planet at different times and places. It's not how we work, you know?
Yeah, well, no, exactly. That's exactly it. But we share these things. I mean, you know, North Koreans had bootleg Nintendos back in the 90s, and
exactly.
I never met a North Korean, but we were both playing Metroid.
Yeah, exactly. And so how the heck did they get that? You know, it washed up shore. You know, you know what I mean? Like that's too funny. So I just wanted to talk quick about Atlantis and all that stuff. Yeah. I find that to be sort of the number one topic that everyone's most interested in, and everyone's got an idea. It's here, it's there. Sounds like to me you're more of the like it's most likely that we had a global seafaring civilization of some sort to some degree.
Well, I'd put it like this. The way I usually end up putting it is, if you were to go 10,000 years in the future now, people would look back at this time and call us the electricity culture, or the electronics culture.
Right.
And that would be putting us, the North Koreans that I just mentioned, and the French all in the same fucking category. Fuck you. All right. No, I'm not playing that game. But seriously, it is like that's you know, that the cultural differences are vast. That we look. I mean, look at how we label the Clovis culture. And they even say, well, it's actually the Clovis toolkit, but it's like they call it. We think that maybe these guys were the Clovis people. It's like, dude, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the people using Clovis points in fucking Alaska were not the same, worshiping the same gods or following the same customs, or certainly not speaking the same language as the guys that were down in Florida. And this isn't complicated. This is a big chunk of land in a day when they didn't have cars. So, but it's easy to, again, archaeology works with material remains. So they can't, there's times when archaeology knows it's wrong, and because it's stuck with material remains, it has to basically run with it anyway. And I'll prove that to you. I'll not just make that as an empty statement. You guys know what Darren Kuyu is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Darren Kuyu is the underground caves over there in Turkey, and it's like a damn anthill. You got multiple layers. The top layer is the oldest. It does not take rocket scientists to figure out. They didn't dig from the bottom up. They dug from the top down. So the top layer is the oldest. So how old is this place? Well, we can't date the walls. So they date it by the oldest artifacts they found. So the oldest artifacts they found are like 16 layers down. There's some Byzantine Christian shit. And they're like, okay, so this is made by Byzantine Christians. And so it doesn't take much discussion with anyone for them to be like, well, yeah, those probably weren't contemporary to the first people that built the place. I'll give you that. It's probably a lot, more recent. It was probably the first people probably had their artifacts cleared out of there a long time ago, and we will never know when it was originally built. However, this is the oldest that we can say for certain, so ergo, this is what we're going to say. It's like, well, okay, at that point, you're not just saying you're not a science. You're saying we know we're wrong. Here's the answer anyway. It's fucking, I don't know about you, but that was the quick fucking way to get on the short bus when I went to school, man. That's like, no, that's just dumb shit, man.
Yeah, totally. And so I wanted to move on to what some of your most recent videos. You did one recently about the Baghdad Battery, and a new theory regarding what it could possibly be. Did you want to quickly talk about how like that?
Yeah, I think that's honestly, I think it's a pretty. I was very happy when I thought up the idea, or when I stumbled across the data that got me going that way, because it's like, this seems so much more viable to me than the electricity idea with it, because there is the amount of electricity generated so minuscule. That's really what it comes down to. Right. But the Baghdad Battery was a galvanic cell, and a galvanic cell is basically, it's got two metals that are of different potentials. So one of them wants to shed its electrons more, and one of them wants to collect electrons more. So if you put an acidic solution in there, like vinegar or whatever, fermented juice, you'll get electrons will shed from the iron in these Baghdad batteries and attract to the copper, the cathode, and that will generate, the flow of electrons will generate usable electric current.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the process of doing this, you lose mass from the iron and you gain mass on the copper. Now, if instead of using acidic solution like vinegar, and you took the acidic solution being run off from like a gold mine or a silver mine, the metals that would collect on the cathode, the copper, as mass, would be gold, silver, mercury, and copper. And the metals like iron, nickel, magnesium, those would all fall to the bottom as kind of a slime. So then you can burn off mercury, you can melt off the copper, and you would be left with the gold silver alloy. And so it seems to me like it's way more likely that this was just a way for somebody who'd figured this out to gather mine runoff, and gold pan, basically. And it would have been easily discovered, because to discover it, literally all that would have had to have happened was for somebody to have dropped a piece of copper and a piece of iron into a puddle of mine runoff, and then return a couple of days later, and they would see the buildup of metal on that coin, or like a copper coin, and that would be, kind of like the discovery of cheese I compared it to in my video, or was just kind of like stumbling on it. But
so discovered by accident, essentially, and potentially looked at as like alchemy is a way to explain the scientific stuff that they didn't quite understand. I got to be honest, I think you might be onto something, and it bums me out a little bit, because I really did want it to be a battery. But that's okay. Like, it's like, that's the thing. Like, I wanted it to be a battery. I want to believe poster right beside me on purpose, because I know I want to believe this shit, right? And so, but when I see your video and I go, oh, that Dan's making too much sense, damn it. I'm okay with it. I was like, nobody's ever framed this in this way, and it definitely doesn't get explained well by Egyptology. And so, what got you onto that? You said you were.
Well, I was getting ready to build. Like, I'd bought the stuff to build a Baghdad battery a while ago. It's been sitting here, and so I get ready to build the battery. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go through and look everything up about a galvanic cell one more time to make sure I get everything right. And as I'm looking it up, and I'm like, wait a minute. I was watching a video, actually. The dude's talking about it gaining and losing mass. And I'm like, well, fucking wait a minute. And so I listened to it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I've seen the residue and stuff. And then I started looking up. I was like, wait a minute, what metals, how does this work? What metals does it sift? And when I started seeing that, I was just like, oh, fuck me. This is way too, because in all honesty, like, even if they understood the principle, even if this was like lost ancient technology and the guy knew exactly what he was doing, this is the kind of thing you do not want other people to know. It's like, you can't, if whether you're the government and you're trying to control all this mine runoff, which good fucking luck with that in those days, or if you're the poor guy who figured this shit out and you're figured out a way to scrape gold and make enough money to pay your rent every year, no matter who you are, you don't want other people to know that this is a thing. And that explains to me the size of the jars. It explains to me why we don't see them in the record and stuff. I think it was something that almost like just died when the people that did it died. Like it's maybe taught to secret societies and stuff and stomped out in the witch trials 1,000 years later. Who knows? But it definitely qualifies as the best candidate for alchemy that I've ever seen in the record. Like when people talk about what may or may not be alchemy and different arguments and stuff, it's like, well, that's when that jar right there would definitely, if you didn't know any better, you'd be thinking you were turning iron into gold, man. If you didn't know any better, that's exactly what you'd think was happening.
Yeah.
What has been the response to it so far?
There's been a lot of people like yourself that were thought that it was electricity. And it would have liked.
I just wanted it to be. I wasn't sure.
Well, yeah, would have liked it to have been. There's a lot of people that were a lot of people that said it was a good idea. There's been a lot of positive responses, and then there's always the ubiquitous. I didn't really watch the video response. You can always tell those because it's like, what would they have done with so little electricity? Well, we've already figured out what it's good for. It's like,
yeah.
I go to Taylor Swift songs and don't listen to them before I comment.
What's interesting is the Egyptians, obviously, or the dynastic Egypt, or whoever carved the big ass one, they seem to sort of revere it as a technology or a form of alchemy or something. Otherwise, they wouldn't have carved that like beautiful piece, right?
Yeah. It seems like this is the kind of stuff that was. Secrets are something that go back 500, even at the time of Paul Revere and shit. If you were a silversmith and you were like spilling your guts about silversmith secrets of the trade to just random people, you might have somebody pouring hot silver in your ear tomorrow night, right? I mean, you didn't fuck around with trade secrets, and so, and that's all to leather tanning. To mixing paints and to making pigments. There's all kinds of shit. So if you figured out a way to actually sift gold and silver out of fucking muddy water, buddy, I don't think that's the kind of thing people are going to hide. That's just going to get hidden.
That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, we do that now with patents and they get hid and stuff like that. I mean, it happens now, so that makes a lot of sense. And I hope that more people explore that idea, because if they do, I feel like we can, maybe add some pieces to it and stuff like that, because it's really the best explanation I've heard for the Baghdad Battery. So thank you.
Well, thanks. No, thank you. I really appreciate that, Dave. Like, it was one of the things that I mentioned on my other channel with making fun of Dave for it. But honestly, it's like Professor Dave, he's a chemist, right? He's a chemist. That's like what he studied. That's what he taught kids in school was chemistry, right? So why is it that he's a chemist who's looked into, ancient technology or ancient archaeology and all this shit and the alternate history side of it? Why he's got videos about galvanic cells on YouTube from like 10 years ago. He's one person of many, but the problem is that people look at these things with trying to prove that it works as electricity or trying to prove that it's stupid to think that it would work as electricity instead of just coming in and looking at it and going, what do we fucking got here? And I honestly think
imagine that.
what I think we could call that I'm going to invent that ideology. It's going to be this methodology where you look at things and you take the data and you empirically look at what you got. I'm going to call it science. Right? I'm going to invent it right here.
Jeez.
It's just funny though. It's like if 50 chemists would have sat down and evaluated the Baghdad Battery, I don't think it would have took 5 before one of them would have been like, dude, this you realize this would like work with mine runoff, right? But you have to have somebody who's got some interest in ancient history, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and an open mind, and also, yeah, and because if you're like you mentioned, if you're like you're an idiot, it's not a battery, or it's definitely a battery, and they're using it for electricity all around Giza. It's like you have to be one or the other, and it's like no, you should being in the center, I mean this generally speaking, I'm going to sweep this statement across literally everything that's happening in culture today. Being in the center is a good idea right now. Okay.
Oh, dude. You're so right, but that's so hard for humans. Like,
It is.
it's one of Billy Joel's less well-known singles. I remember it because it was popular when I was younger on the radio, but it don't get much play now. But it's called Extremes, and the chorus, darling, I don't know why I go to extremes, too high or too low, there ain't no in between, and if I stand or I fall, it's all or nothing at all. It's like, dude, that is so fucking human. It's not just right now, but it's just human. It's like people, again, they just want these one size fits all rules. You know, that my team's the best. It's the reason that concept, like, you guys know what esprit de corps is? It's the French for like the spirit of the body. And basically it's to summarize, it's what militaries and locker rooms and do when you're the best goddamn blah 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 that's ever walked the face of this earth. You instill the idea in these people that they are above and beyond everything else. You make the spirit of that body. And it works because people are dumb.
I was having a conversation on X with a dude that I actually don't know, but it was actually a quite refreshing conversation about this. But humans have a logic. They need to start teaching how to spot logic. First off, how to spot logical fallacies at like age 5, please. But the hardest one for people is the appeal to emotion, you know, and that's the one that, like, I think gets people the most, is like you appeal to somebody's emotion, whether through racism or whatever, and then that's how you get somebody to join a team, you know.
Dude, you get some really stupid statements to come out of that once you get the appeals to emotion. It's like if like I say it sometimes as a joke, but honestly, it is one of the biggest problems that we have as a democracy. Is it like I say that we should have a test to be able to vote, and you'd have to, like, they show you like pictures of dead babies and all kinds of these horrible things, and then they like ask you all these questions, and they basically check and see if all of this, kind of like on Blade Runner when they test the emotions of those things. You try to, if you can't sift out all this emotional propaganda, dude, you just shut the fuck up, go to work, don't even look at memes anymore, get off Facebook. Yeah. Just goddamn, dude. And I know I'm not trying to be elitist about it. It's just that it's so. You get people that are so easily led that way. And then, so like, you could just, whatever rhetoric you spit out. Are you saying that we shouldn't have sacred private property? Are you saying that some people should be illegal? And it's just like,
right.
Stop.
I'm not even going to get into it, but there's stuff like that going on right now, like with the recent sporting event, and it was some of the most obvious, like, appeal to emotion propaganda that, like, I've ever seen. Yet you turn. I was in the middle of watching that because my wife wanted to. I didn't want to watch it, and I pull up my phone, and people are already from both sides just emotionally just flying off the handle about this, and I'm going, this is the most obvious one, like, come on.
This is so, yeah, they want you to fight right now. Between the Epstein files and Trap Country, there's too much unity going on. And they're like, oh, no, we can't have all that. You can't have the rappers and the rednecks hanging out together, and you certainly can't have them. You certainly can't have them bitching about the powers that be when they do it. So let's fucking, Super Bowl. That'll piss them all off. We'll get the poor whites and the poor blacks fighting again tomorrow night.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I have a lot of black friends and stuff. We talk about this shit fairly regularly sometimes. It's just fucking.
That's what happened, and then you throw in the white people who want to join it, like that want to. I don't want to get into this too hard.
It's just funny. People are stupid.
They are. I was the guy that I was talking to. He said that he doesn't think it's necessarily stupidity, and I'm like kind of like on the fence about that. But he thinks that a lot of people are just emotionally exhausted with their own lives and their work, and then the constant bombardment with appeals to emotion and other logical fallacies that just get them their head spinning, and they just go, fuck it, I'm on this team, whatever, to avoid controversy, to avoid getting fired, to avoid keep their friends or whatever. And I don't know, what do you think? Like, do you think it's less of stupidity and more of like, or maybe it's a little combo of both?
Well, I mean, I know the stupidity is definitely a simplistic way of putting it, but it, yes, people can get fatigued, and and it is very true that whenever we see like whenever we see like people having issues, like the economy collapses or there's a war or some bullshit, you get very polarizing times. You don't get a whole lot of middle ground. You get your Spanish Civil Wars and all this shit, but at the same time, like if I'm having a bad day and I'm like, dude, I'm pretty tired. I think when I get off of this podcast, I'm going to go buy some fentanyl and maybe numb these emotions. We call that stupid. We don't make we don't say that it's emotional. We don't say that it's fatigue. You're a stupid motherfucker. And so there's certain points, to circle back to something we were saying before we started, even, it's like you have to know, like there's a difference between knowing your limitations and like catering to your strengths and like shoring up your weaknesses, and then like knowing where your pitfalls are, and knowing that if somebody shows me a picture of a dead baby, I'm going to vote a certain way. Don't look at pictures of dead babies, you stupid motherfucker. I don't know what else to tell you. And if you're not smart enough to do that, then no, I don't think you should be voting or a bunch of other stuff. And again, that sounds awfully terribly elitist, but it's like,
it's really just women that shouldn't vote, guys.
Oh my god!
Yeah, way too emotional. Way too emotional.
You see that? I saw this.
Way too emotional.
You see the what's his face? Oh god! I saw this bit that was that dude that was oh come on, I'm gonna forget his name right now, but he's an actor that's one of Adam Sandler's buddies and stuff. He's all right wing nowadays, and whereas like he's been on Kill Tony a couple of times, but he made this hilarious joke. He's saying that he thinks that the 19th Amendment needs amended because of women are so easily emotionally manipulated. And he's like, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't let you women vote. That's not what I'm saying at all. He's Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider, yeah.
Yes.
I was like, it was on the tip of my tongue the whole time.
It's like, I'm not saying we shouldn't let women vote. That's not what I'm saying at all. There's plenty of things women should be allowed to vote in, just not like the biggest stuff. They should be allowed to vote in things like, Dancing with the Stars, America's Got Talent.
Yeah, it's funny because he's making jokes, right? And he's a comedian, and it that used to be like the one place where you could like do that, we seem to be in a place where you got to be careful even there, unless you live in Austin. They say whatever they want down there.
Yeah, well, that's just it, and I that's what I love about it, to be honest with you, is that, like you say, the joke that I always use to illustrate this point is because here's the thing: comedy, generally speaking, comedy is about saying the unexpected. It's about subverting expectations. You might call it shock value, but that's a simplistic way of putting it. It's, for example, there's the old joke of, man, my grandfather died in a concentration camp in World War II. Oh, that's terrible. How did he die? Well, there was somebody escaping, and he leaned out of the guard tower and fell down and broke his neck. Subvert expectations. This, by no means am I saying that my grandfather was in the U.S. Army Air Corps. Another grandfather was in the United States Army during World War II. So it's a subverting expectations. You expect me to say that my grandpa had a tattoo on his arm, and instead he was given the tattoos. It's to catch you off guard, and that's the way comedy generally is. If somebody gets up and they're using that kind of thing to spread hate, I mean, I think most people can smell that pretty fucking quick.
Exactly.
If you can't, again, those are the people that they certainly don't need to be voting.
We need
to Dancing with the Stars. They're allowed to.
wonder what I'm trying to think of what kind of test or like class you could take or something that would like make it so that like you could be like, don't other countries have something like that? Like, or, I don't know, you got to qualify to vote besides
Yeah,
just being
you got
born
to
here?
have the party's card in your
Yeah, there
most
you go.
countries.
There you go. But yeah, and I love, freedom in this country and the right to vote and all that stuff. And I know you're just joking, but at the same time, it's like we've got all these people voting that like are, voting
That's just it.
strictly based off of their appeal to emotion, and that's it, right? And it gets very frustrating to me personally, and I literally had to. After the sporting event that just happened, I turned off my social media on my phone, and like every time it popped up on YouTube, I was like, nope, don't listen, because I'm so frustrated right now with like the state of things and how easily people can get pushed to one side or the other and not realize they're being hurted
Oh
emotionally.
man, what you just said, like, and it's so. Like, if anybody wants to get a good case study of how this can completely ruin someone, you guys know who Baked Alaska is?
Uh-uh.
He's I forget his real name, but he was a rapper in like the late 2000s and late 2000s, early 2010s. He was in Alaska before legalization, and Baked Alaska was a joke because that's a dessert, but he's also like a marijuana advocate. And
Right.
so then like 2014, 2015, the whole Trump train gets going, and makes one video that was, I think was even on Twitter, where he was a rapper. He just would do silly, stupid shit, but he made one video that talking good stuff about Trump, and it took off, right? Next thing you know, that's his shtick. He's no longer a rapper. He's a pundit. And then he's one of the dudes that's getting arrested when everybody's storming the White House a few years later. And you could see the look on his face at one moment. You could just like see it in his eyes where he's just like, how the fuck did I end up here? And it's like, dude, you were 10 years ago, you were on stage rapping, and now you're like fucking going to jail because of something you didn't even halfway believe, but it paid your bills, dude. It was so, and that's this stuff is so like, it's so, the herd mentality part of it is honestly the biggest problem. It's when you, like, I tell my son this all the time. Tell him the biggest problem with the two-party system is how they tell you what to think. And I said the example of this is they hook you with one thing. Most people are single issue voters. This is a fact. Most people are, I'm voting because of abortion or gun control or drugs or blah. They've got something, the border, whatever the fuck it is, they've got some hard on for one issue. So they loop you in with that, and they're like, oh, guess what? Your position on gun control, we're on board with you, but now this is your position on finance, this is your position on the border, this is your position on abortion, and if you don't agree with us on all that stuff, you can get the fuck out of here. There is no party for you. And so this very much herds people into two different camps and forces ideological hegemony. And that, man, is that is how you control democracy without forcing them to all have the same party card when they vote. People don't laugh at us when they say we're the People's Republic of. We all know that they're not democratic in North Korea.
Right. Lately, I've been voting based on who seems least like a lizard person. But it makes me wonder what people do, like because when you go up to the ballot, like there's a bunch of shit there that you need to know in order to pick something. You know what I mean? And so it makes me wonder what people do before they vote and what they do when they get up there. It's just like, I'm red, or blue, because of, like you said, one issue, and they're not thinking it. Meanwhile, they're voting for several different people. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't make any. I don't know. I don't know.
It's so bad that like you can make a bunch of jokes about it, but they're true. Like it's not just voting for red and blue. It's also, does that name look white? I'm not going to vote for a woman. I'm not going to vote for a man, especially not for that position.
Right.
And this is so bad that, like, the mayor of Spokane, is Nadine Woodward. She is she was a TV news anchor. That's why everybody knows her name. Fucking it's why so many musicians call themselves Eminem and fucking Snoop Dogg and shit that everybody already knew, because it's that name, the brand recognition. You walk right into it, because when people are looking at so many of these things, they just don't fucking know, especially on the ballots. They just don't know. Like what you just said, they know. I have ended so many conversations at bars when people start yabbering to me about politics. It's like, can you name 5 local politicians? And if they stop, it's like, all right, you're just a tourist. I don't fucking care. No offense. You're just a hobbyist. I don't care about your opinion on the White House, because you don't know what's happening in your own fucking backyard. Blow me. So that's, I mean, sorry to be so blunt about it, but seriously, if you're not going to concern yourself with cleaning your fucking house, but you're going to care about the fucking the way that the city park is, you fuck you, man. Just shut the fuck up.
Well, they're being told what's the big problem that they need to worry about and vote on. I'm glad you mentioned that rapper who ended up storming the White House, because oftentimes, like, one side thinks that the other side is the one being hurted, and then the other side thinks the other side's being hurted, and both are being hurted. If you identify emotionally and like in part of your identity as one side or the other, guess what? You've been psyoped.
Yes, that's the best example. And it'll say like, we stand for blah blah blah. No. Okay, there's some great examples of this. Look at what happened when Elon Musk bought Twitter and he banned a few people that were lefties that he was having pissing matches with. All of the right wingers for the last 10 years have been saying it's so much bullshit to get on the internet and get banned for just expressing your political opinion. And all the left wingers are saying, LOL, it's not this isn't free speech. This is a private company, blah, blah, blah. Then on a dime, all the lefties are like, this is a violation of free speech. And all the righties are like, ha ha, you got banned for talking. And this goes all the way back. Look at fucking, there was that thing that happened like 10 years ago when on the university where there was like, there was
Evergreen College.
Yeah, it was Evergreen was one of them, but there was another one. It was like Melissa Click was the lady's name, if I remember right, and she was calling for Muscle to remove student press from the campus. I need some muscle over here, she's saying. And this is like 10 years ago or something. She's yelling about, I forget what it's called. It was the protest, but it was, she had people violently removed from the campus and in violation of their First Amendment, in violation of free speech. And there was a lot of that going on at the time, like in Evergreen, they had the same kind of thing. It was pretty violent removal of that teacher, if I remember right. And here's the thing. You could say that that's, the right was defending free speech and the left was the one that was oppressing it. But then you don't have to roll back too far until you're looking at Kent State. And it was the right that was sending out the National Guard to shoot those fucking lefties for talking, for their right. The bottom line is, if you're in power, you don't want the people that ain't in power opening their goddamn mouth. That's really what it comes down to. It's not complicated.
And if they do open their mouth, you want them to say what you told them to say.
That's exactly it. Otherwise, there will be consequences.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the United States is the consequences get enforced socially. So not like, it's not like the Gestapo's enforcing it. It's like they get the population to enforce it on each other. Saw that during Rhymes with Movid, and it's like
Canada also.
Say what?
Canada also had some very serious.
Oh yeah, Canada. I'm Canadian, so I'm allowed to say this. Don't even get me started on Canada during COVID. My goodness. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah. I wanted to move towards. So, Dan, one of my favorite things about you and your channel, and maybe this is just me, but all your references to science fiction and Dungeons and Dragons and video games and stuff like that, and your most recent, I just always get a little personal inside chuckle and go, hey, I know that game. But your second most recent video on the Egyptian vase scans being inconclusive, and you mentioning a selection bias. You brought up the example of the sculptor's cut of clay fighter versus the regular one, and I just like I'm going, is he doing that for himself and me only, or what? Because I don't know how many people would even get that reference.
I chose it because of how similar it is. Because here's the thing: if you have those vases, if you have, say you've got a place that has 10 copies of clay fighter, and they don't know that there's sculptor's cut, so this pawn shop's just got in their inventory, they've got 10 copies of clay fighter, right? So I could go into that pawn shop and bring in 2 copies of clay fighter, and if they had 2 copies of sculptor's cut, well, I could just swap them out, and they would never know, and it would have never shown up in the record, because it's too easy to slip these through the cracks. It's the same thing with those vases. It's like hard stone vase. Unless they're recording the measurements and stuff, hard stone vase is a hard stone that measures, that's approximately 1 foot tall. It's like that's pretty fucking easy to swap out. It's pretty easy to miss. But yeah, I try to use things honestly that I think are going to kind of resonate with people outside of what we're talking about to a degree, because in all honesty, it's weird to me that I even have to make that explanation. But like, there's so many of these people that they really just don't get it. It's like that's why I brought up the quarters, because that's like the most basic bitch version of it. It's like, just go to the bank and buy 50 rolls of quarters, go home and see how many of them are silver. When you find out there's none, are you going to assume that bank never had silver quarters? Are you fucking bonehead? Or are you going to assume that people were searching through the quarters when they get them to where there's silver ones were all picked out of there before you were born? Not complicated.
Right. And you in the video, you really commended Max. How the heck do you say his name? I think it's a Street Fighter noise, if I remember that. I'm not sure. that was what was his name? Gosh darn it. The Brazilian one. Saget makes that noise. But yeah, you really commended him for advancing the debate on the artifacts, and could you explain a little how you see that he did that?
Well, by shifting. Anytime that anybody brings data to bear like this, it's going to advance the discussion. It's going to advance the debate. The problem really is like when it becomes an argument, or becomes an argument that's less about the data and more about like the conclusion. And that's, I think, what a big problem is that, and that's honestly where a lot of the problems in archaeology and like the bias against things comes in a lot. Like when Jacques St. Mars discovered Bluefish Caves, the opposition wasn't to Bluefish Caves. The opposition was to the implications that people were in the Americas before the Clovis people. And that's really how this stuff always works out. It's always the implications that are causing the problem. And this is no different. It's unfortunate that the arguments often end up there, because that is kind of where Max is at right now. Like, you look at him on Twitter and he's very much defending that this is like anything else isn't scientific. It's just speculative. And it's like, speculating that your sample selection is perfect is one thing to say your sample selection is perfect if you're the first one on the scene. It's another thing altogether after shit's been going on a while. And it always makes me laugh when they bring up the issue of provenance, because it's like, I mean, clearly, you know how much, like, if you look at the Assyrian kings lists, these things, or the Sumerian kings list, excuse me, these things, 2 of them are fucking, they're no provenance. It's like, this dude was sold this thing that he could have been, and there's entire careers built on these fucking artifacts that could have been made in some dude's basement, hypothetically. Right. So it's like, you walk around the Met Museum, and it's like every 5th display says, presumably or reportedly found, blah, blah, blah. So it's a very normal, common issue, but they try to make it sound like it's like the be all end all, like it's fucking police work or something. We have to have it. It's like, dude, again, this isn't our fault. This is the fault of archaeology because to begin with, they were just a bunch of artifact collectors and looters. So they didn't show up and do all the stratigraphy shit. They dug a fucking hole in the ground and took out whatever
Look what I
treasures they
found.
Yeah. I
I'm
told
the
you
man.
this is where it's going.
Yeah, and the providence thing is like, you can only really go back, like how back can we be 60, 70, 80 years for most of this stuff at the most, right?
Yeah, and in addition to that, it's so hilarious. It's like you can only go back a few, even if we go back like all the way to Petrie, which is like 130 years ago or so, and he records where he got certain things. But even if you go back there, he also said that he found a bunch of hard stone vases that were very precise and that he didn't understand how the technology, blah, 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 right? He called them anomalous. But they disregard these reports and say he must have been talking about, he must not have known what he's talking. They act like he was just some dude walking around looking at shit that didn't bother taking measurements, that didn't collect Egyptian artifacts. That wasn't like the premier authority at the time. But so it's funny to me because it's like, on the one hand, this is treated as an empirical statement. This vase came from Cairo. And then this vase was very precise compared to what it should be. That's treated as like some opinion bullshit statement. It's like, dude, again, this isn't some just amateur nobody. This is the fucking main dude at the time. So it's just funny to me. We see this again with the two ways of the way people go back and forth. The Howard Weiss expedition to the pyramid. Okay. And the Howard Weiss expedition found that cartouche that's always used by it's like a worker cartouche in the back. It's always used to claim that Khufu's. Okay. So they prove this cartouche proves, and then a lot of alternate historians will say that this cartouche was faked by Howard Weiss's people because it was the end of their expedition and they needed to find something and la-di-da-di-da. So then you flip it around. In that same expedition, an iron plate was purportedly found in the Great Pyramid. Now, this iron plate's not meteoric iron. And so the alternate historians are like, hey, man, this is interesting. This is smelted iron before the Iron Age. No matter how you slice it, how did this end up there? The mainstream historians, the archaeologists, are like, yeah, but you see, Howard Weiss's team was under the gun, and they were kind of trying to find something that would make it look like that their expedition was actually profitable. The same fucking argument to disbelieve and discount shit from the same fucking expedition. It never ceases to amaze me how it's like that horseshoe theory just kisses itself sometimes. And that's a perfect example. Sorry to babble about it for a minute, but that one, I love that one so much. It's just so funny. Well,
you're not babbling, but it is funny, and I was watching. I had YouTube on last night. I was like on the floor stretching, and I couldn't reach the remote, so it like rolled into like one of these older documentaries. I can't remember. It's not Mystery of the Sphinx with Charlton Heston. It's the one. It's something about the Sphinx with Graham Hancock and Robert Bauval in the name.
Message of the Sphinx.
Yeah, that's it. And I love that one. And so I let it roll. And Robert and Graham are walking us through the video quality is just horrific.
It's so pixelated.
Yeah, but they're walking us through the pyramid and they're going over like how the hell did they get these giant blocks up this high, and how the hell did they make it perfect northwest? How did they code the mathematics of the earth into it, and yada yada yada. And like we still don't have like that stuff still can't really get explained well. It's just kind of, and so it's this thing that Egyptology specifically does where they just go, I'm just going to ignore that completely and not address that at all. And how can you not address that stuff? And they say they work from the known to the unknown. And I hate that statement because at a certain point, you can't do that. You have to speculate a little. And that's okay. And it's okay to be wrong and stuff like that. But it's this idea of, if I speculate beyond the known, that you're somehow some kind of conspiracy theorist asshole or something. It kills me.
Yeah, well, and the thing is they speculate all the time about things.
All the time.
All the time.
Everything they do is speculation.
It's one big speculation.
Yeah, but
exactly.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Just be honest about it.
Thank you. That's honestly why, if you look at archaeoastronomy, it's like the number one opposition to it is archaeology, and the reason is because it offers an entirely new interpretive lens, and that's the problem to them. Is it's like I said about Graham Hancock, and the reason that they hate Graham Hancock. It's like he wrote a fiction about our past. They wrote a fiction about our past because nobody fucking knows. He's got the wrong goddamn letters next to his name, and he sold more books.
Yeah.
They're a butthurt to no end. That's really all it comes down to. It's very much about ego, and I said it before, but I'll circle back to it because I think it's important to hammer home. Archaeology doesn't function as a normal science. It doesn't even function as a soft science. Phrenology. You know what phrenology is? Where they would measure people's heads and measure the bumps on it, like Leonardo DiCaprio goes off about in Django, right?
Oh, yeah,
talking about you got these bumps on your head. Okay.
Yes.
This was a scientific endeavor. They would correlate data. Say, look, if you got these bumps here, this person happens to have that. So of course, because black people were less educated, these different things made you. It was extremely racist, right? But it was scientific, and that's, again, like I was saying with the speed running, you can do anything in a scientific manner. All right, you can using scientific methodology does not make your endeavor a science. And when there is no, I hammer away at this, and the best answer I've ever gotten was from JT on Twitter, an archaeologist, but my question is, could you show me an archaeology experiment, not a chemistry experiment, not some other geology experiment, just archaeology? Could you? If you can't, and he's like, well, we can do flint napping stuff, we can reproduce flint napping, but I pointed out that that's closer to really, that's closer to an art than it is actually science. It's like reproducing a painting or a manuscript. This is a forgery is an art, not a science.
Right. Yeah. My favorite documentary of all time is Quest for the Ancient Civilization, Quest for Lost Civilization with Graham Hancock. And there's this scene that I've seen 4 billion times where Zahi walks Graham up to the top of the Sphinx to kind of drive home his point that this is Egyptology and archaeological heresy. And Graham says, but both sides are offering opinions, not facts. And then Zahi says, but our theories are based on what we have found here. And I'm going, yeah, but he's standing on the fucking pyramid. Like, Robert Schoch was right there, looking at the fucking thing. He's basing his off of what he found there as well. And it's this idea that I'm the authority, so it's in my book, right? It's it just kills me, man.
Well, what you're saying there, what it really is this degree of arrogance that, you get a little philosophical about it, but we really are all in a different spot with what we with how we view the universe, how we view the world. An example I use of this a lot is somebody who's raised very, very, very Christian. Oftentimes, when they leave Christianity, will have a hard time letting go of the Bible being a font of truth. So they'll be looking, even though they don't believe in the Trinity, they don't believe in Jesus, they don't believe in Yahweh, they don't believe in none of that. They believe that there's hidden knowledge or proverbs or something in the Bible, and so they will still continue to hammer at the Bible even after they quit believing, looking for something there, or putting it on a pedestal compared to other historical documents that contain, clear miracles and mythology and whatnot. And you see this kind, and the thing is, some people will look at that and say that this is stupid. Other people will look at it and say that this is terrible because he's actually not following the Bible the way it was written and stuff. He's being of the devil. Everybody's come from these different points in their past and what they value and how they see the truth. And as a species, we have all these different things because more than one angle looking at a problem is fucking beneficial. If you have just the three of us trying to crack the code of how to split an atom, we're probably going to be pissing up a rope. You add about exponentially 1,000 more of us, we might be able to figure this one out. And that's just so this hegemonic, you must think this certain way in order to weigh in on all of this stuff, really is it's religious. It's not a whole lot different than me going to church and trying to say stuff, and they say you can't talk here, you're an atheist. Not much different than that. You're not properly you don't know how to read the Bible just right. You don't know how to interpret this data, is what they're saying. Same fucking spiel.
Yeah, totally. And before we start, as we start winding down here, I wanted to ask you a little bit of a sillier, less serious question here. So we're in the multiverse, so I can have whatever I want here. So I got a time machine, but you can't go into the future, Dan. You can only go into the past. All right?
Good, I'll be dead in the future.
Where are you taking us? Where are we going?
Oh, well, let's see. Probably want to see how the pyramids were built. I want to see. Like I want to watch some of the early days of like Göbekli Tepe. I want to see some of the let's see how the Younger Dryas gets kicked off. But
yeah, like, we need to be like kind of in space watching that one, but we could do that. It's the multiverse.
There we go. We'll go back to Enoch when he gets picked up by the Watchers and they carry him around the globe to watch everything happen. We'll see how that works out. I think I did that the other night. No, eating a bunch of mushrooms or something. No, I'm joking. That's pretty. If you've read the Book of Enoch, it does read like a bad trip. It's like holy shit, man. You can see the point where they kicked in. He's like, "Duck that there, whoa!" Off the rails.
Did you? Did you take a heroic dose the other day or what?
Oh no, I haven't taken mushrooms in a long time.
Okay.
So I was joking.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got that. I got this 17-year-old running around, and at that age, they are looking for weaknesses and opportunities to do shit. And the best thing to do is have him walk up to you, and be like, "Hey, Dad," you're like, "The snozberries taste like snozberries." Like, that's not what we need to do.
I love it. Well, I wanted to say before we wrap up, fuck that Dave guy. You're a super nice guy. You're a great dad, and
I like you, Dave. God.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that because it just goes to the guy's a dickweed who's just doing that, and I just absolutely love how you let it roll off of you. I'm very sensitive. Somebody says some shit to me on X, and I'm like, oh, and so I gotta honestly get used to that, and because it's coming as my channel grows. I'm probably gonna get hit with it. Professor Dave's probably going to do me next. So I said Professor, damn it.
Well, you've watched those celebrities read mean tweets things, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, that's honestly like it's kind of like that. Like I wasn't one of the fucking Ariana Grande that was like I'd rather listen to an auto-tuned queef on repeat than her latest album. Like, come on, dude. How do you not laugh at? I had somebody years ago before I was doing any of this YouTube shit. I posted a picture of myself, like the Double Dragon for the Atari is a pretty rare game, right? And I had a real nice.
I got it right there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I had a real nice copy of the black version. It's on one of my old Facebook profile pics. If you look, I got it in my mouth. And I'm like holding it all kind of weird, and I posted that in this group, video game group, and said they told me it tasted like mint. The seller told me it was mint, but it tastes like silicone. And this guy that me argue with all the time, he goes and reposts it, and he goes, "They must have ran out of dicks." And I was like, "Okay, you know what? I love this fucking funny, man.
Good one.
Cocksucker. I mean, come on, you can't get that mad about
it.
Me. Especially like at the end of the day, really, like you say, he's so angry. And it's just so, like, I hope he purges his demons when he does that, at least, like, for real, because that's so, like, what coming out of him is the kind of shit where I see that, feel that energy in a bar or something. I'm like, I need to get out of here before somebody gets their ass whooped. This guy's he's an asshole.
It's vitriolistic, and that's why I said at the beginning that I kind of felt bad for him. I was watching him last night. I'm like, why is this guy so miserable? Like, I don't get it. Maybe he's not. He's just putting on a clown face for his YouTube channel. I don't know the guy.
I honestly think a part of it is, and this is speculation, but if you look at, like I mentioned earlier, that he had the videos on the galvanic cell and stuff, but those are like 10, 14 years ago. They're old videos, and they got hundreds of thousands of views back before he was nothing but rage bait, or back when rage bait wasn't all he did. But now, if you look at his channel now, he's got videos that are a week or two old that have 6,000 views, and it's like, it's purely educational. And it's like, dude, you got 4.5 million subscribers, and you can't fucking put on an educational video and get people to watch it. But if you start talking shit, fucking people are lined up to hear what you got to say. That, honestly, I would compare that to, I would compare it to somebody like Robin Williams or Stevie Ray Vaughan. Both of these guys didn't become famous. Robin Williams' stand-up comedy was cocaine driven. Stevie Ray Vaughan's, but it was brilliant and hilarious. Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar playing was cocaine driven, but it was brilliant. You try to get healthy in life. 20 years later, you're like, man, I'm doing Aladdin. I don't want to fucking be this coked up Mork 70s dude no more. I got kids and shit. I'm going to fucking, and then you're not funny. You're just not good anymore. How fucking hard would that be? You're this great guitar player that can play 30-second notes, and then you're not coked up anymore, and you're struggling to do 16ths. You're just not good anymore. You're a science educator that nobody cares what you have to say about science. Same fucking thing. It's just like, oof, oh, Jesus Christ, man. So
yeah, he's got bills to pay, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's why he's so angry.
That's exactly why he's so angry. I think, honestly, it's like he knows he's a fuck. He's screaming grifter all the time, just like those other guys that are screaming racism all the time, because he knows the grifter is fucking looking at the mirror every morning.
Right.
When he's eating those breakfast burritos or brushing his teeth with that bubblegum flavored toothpaste.
So, you mentioned an upcoming video. Would you mind give us a little sneak peek on that?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the people in the Americas and how the story is more complicated than it's been made out to be. The last couple of years have seen a lot of genetics, the last few years, but last year in particular, we saw a lot of new DNA come out that basically there's the arguments that have been made in the past it's a lot more complicated. You can't just say that there was no contact. Now, and one of the things, I'll give you a little example of something that's funny here. Like, the haplogroup that's spread throughout the Native Americans, kind of in a band around close to the Canadian border, right?
Yeah.
One of the most accepted arguments by the mainstream as to why that exists in isolation is maybe they were like an insular people that didn't interbreed a lot in their travels across the world. Which, if you're going to invoke that kind of counterintuitive shenanigans, might I point out that at that point, using DNA to prove there was contact between the continents is bullshit, because anybody could always just say, well, perhaps they were just an insular people that didn't like to fuck those other people. And so it's just stupid. It's so funny to me because these arguments are so, again, they're one-sided. It's not logic. It's like they're looking for like they're building a little fortress around this idea, and they found another stone. They don't care that they stole it from the other fortress. It's same fucking idea. So I swear I think maybe less with voting. Maybe it should be allowed on the internet. Maybe they should just make sure that certain people shouldn't have access to bandwidth unless they're brave.
Absolutely, I would vote for that.
I would
Please
definitely
let women vote on that one.
They can have those child Kindles and maybe access to Ring cameras, but that's it.
It's that.
So last thing, there's so I caught George Howard's podcast with my new editor, Alexander Cheshkovich, who I don't have here's his book right here. But he's a writer, and he's also been my editor for the last month and a half. Super helpful. But at the very beginning, George was talking about the Cosmic Summit and potential advertisers or promotion people help promote it and stuff like that, trying to raise money. and I really hope that happens because I loved last year's Cosmic Summit and the year before. I know last year was your first time.
Yeah.
Are you gonna rock Cosmic Summit again?
Oh, I definitely hope so. I'm going to be ironing out a live stream with George here in the next day or two.
Nice.
Just waiting to get my son's baseball schedule for the spring, so I don't step on that. But I really would like to go back to the Cosmic Summit, and I had a great time there. I hope that I hope that it happens. Hope that he gets it going. That was pretty wild, a lot of fun. It was just kind of surreal, to be honest with you, because like places like that, I usually came in and fixed the lights and shit. I didn't go to stand on those stage and yabber at people. But the other stuff too, the stuff I've been doing in Arizona, I did.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, it's Scottsdale, and Sedona's coming up in May 1st through 3rd.
You're going to Sedona as well?
Yeah, going to Sedona.
Nice.
And then Austin at the end of the year. And I'm also setting up some stuff here locally. We're trying to, me and my friend Sean, we're trying to set up like just some smaller stuff. I've got an idea here that I think, and I'm going to talk to George about it, and I want to talk to Robert about it too, but it's, you go to these conventions like Cosmic Summit, and they're not cheap. And it's obvious it's not cheap because it's not cheap to put on. But if you compare it to the comic book world, which you'll probably get, this is like Gen Con. This is fucking, you got people that are showing up with their thousands of dollars worth of freaking cosplay bullshit and blah, blah, blah. Now, the vast majority of motherfuckers that go to Gen Con did not start by going to Gen Con. They went to a comic book show at their community college. It was $10 to get in, and they got some t-shirts signed by an extra from Star Trek The Next Generation.
Right.
And they thought it was cool. And
I would have thought that was cool.
2 years later, they're fucking saving up and getting vacation time to go to Gen Con. It's the same as your drug dealer, man. You give them that first taste for free or at least cheap. You get them in, and then the dumbass is throwing his paycheck at you. So it's the same idea, right? But I think honestly that grassroots thing, I think honestly all of these big conventions would benefit a ton if local creators went to a local platform. Even I guarantee you'll find a small bar that doesn't want to be open during the day. You could go in there and rent that place room for $200 and stand up there and talk to 500 people or 50 people or whatever. Charge them $20 a head, make more money than you spent renting the place, and get all. Even if 5 of them end up going to Cosmic Summit or to the Quest for the Past, these things end up like it doesn't. There's a point where it goes from the red to the black, right? So each ticket sale is a help that way. And so anyway, it seems to me like a way that it seems to me like more effective way of dragging people in than me making advertisements.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a great idea, actually. And, we've got like a West Coast one and we've got a East Coast one. Not a whole lot going on in the middle of the country anyway for this type of stuff. And so I think that's a really good idea because, like you said, it costs $500 or more, and that's just the ticket, for Cosmic Summit or whatever, depending on what pass you get or whatever. But I think it's a really good idea, man. I think you should do that.
Yeah, I've got the balls rolling on it already. It was funny actually because I was at one of my son's wrestling matches, and it was like 2 weeks after we started pushing to do this, and somebody recognized me, walked up and talked to me, and he asked if I was going to be doing any local speaking engagements anytime soon. It's like, as a matter of fact, we're working on that now. I'm not sure how long, but that was kind of like proof of concept anyway. Somebody asking about it. So yeah.
I was gonna ask, do you when you're out with your at a wrestling tournament or something or a baseball or something, do you get dads who are like, hey, you're Dan Richards, aren't you?
Every now and again. It's not too often. I fucked up when I was on Rogan and I talked about White Elephant, which was a Spokane institution that we lost during COVID. And so after that, I got clipped and put into Spokane groups and stuff all over the internet, this little clip. So people that don't even watch Joe Rogan saw that. And so, because to go back to Star Trek: The Next Generation, the dude that played Worf, the Klingon guy,
Michael Dorn.
Yes, Michael Dorn, thank you. He talked about comic book shows and stuff back in the day. He said that he was in an interview and the guy asked what it was like to be not recognized when you went out in public. He said he loved it. He says, I'm the only one of us that can go down to the grocery store and grab something, go to McDonald's to get food, and I still get to sign people's autograph. I still get to sign my autograph for $25 a piece at the comic book shows. It's win-win. And I was kind of hoping things would be like that, but then I made it where there's way more people in Spokane that recognize me than used to, than otherwise would have, right? There's not. We got pyramid idiots up here, but that's a small percentage of the population compared to people that love their hometown.
Star Trek: The Next Generation is like a tie for my favorite show of all time with the X-Files. But did you happen to catch Picard, the series, the new one, Picard?
No, I didn't. I didn't watch that one.
They did a 3-season where Picard was like the main guy. It's on Paramount. It's hit or miss for reviews, but I really enjoyed it only because Captain Picard was like my fictional hero when I was a kid. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I think that's a great idea. And like when we were promoting for Cosmic Summit, everyone was right. We were all the different content creators were putting out different stuff, and that's helpful. But I agree. Somebody paying $20 and going to hear you and a couple other people talk, and then feeling like sort of the sense of community they might get there. Could lead to, exactly that. So I think it's a great idea. Keep us posted on that, Dan. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dave. We'll do.
All right, man. Hey, thank you so much for joining the Multiverse again. We really appreciate it. Hope to see you possibly in June for Cosmic Summit. Maybe they push the date back. I don't know. But hope to see you there, man.
That's not me on Rumble, by the way.
Oh, no.
I don't have a Rumble.
Okay, scratch the Rumble.
Is there somebody on Rumble being me? Huh? I have to look into that.
Maybe
I wasn't aware. Somebody told me this a while ago, but I just kind of like spaced it. But yeah,
maybe somebody
not a big deal.
On Rumble.
Not a big deal. I was just looking there and go, holy shit!
I have a Rumble.
I'm not on Rumble.
That.
It's like Blue Sky. If I joined one, I'd have to join both at the exact same time so that nobody could be like, "You're a blah blah blah." Because I'm like peak centrist. Like if the political compass is a fucking pyramid, I'm like standing right on the top.
I'm exactly the same, man.
I'm always. I tell my son this all the time: is if here's somebody weighing in on politics and they don't at least try to look at it from the other person's perspective, you can ignore what they have to say. Just don't even bother.
I feel like you can do that with ancient history too.
That's exactly it. You can do that with most things. I mean, if somebody's only going to look at the heads or the tails side of the coin, you're fucking looking at the whole picture. I don't really know. Again, it's like that looking at Darren Kuyu. It's like, if you know your answer is wrong, why are you bothering to give me an answer, you bonehead?
That's a good place to end. Again, thank you, my man. Megan, got anything else?
I think really happy to be here. I always say seek truth, not proof. And I think that you're a fine example of that philosophy. So thank you for that.
Well, thanks, Megan. I appreciate that. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome, sir. We'll talk again soon.
Subscribe to Dave's Multiverse on YouTube, Spotify, and Rumble today.